record. Hello, Steve. And now I want to find live stream. Here we go, live stream. And I'll hit our 20 minutes.
Okay.
Continue as Ginny. And let's see. Oh, I got to enter a description. And you're running for at large, right?
That is correct.
Council. Share on my timeline, and here we go. Go live. Good morning, Steve. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing today?
Great, great. Welcome, everybody. I have Steve Altschuler, who is running for Longmont City Council at-large position, Longmont, Colorado. And what I like to do is bring on anyone who wants to talk with me and share this with the public about their position, because I notice that when you get involved in these debates and you're on stage, at least for me, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. And I think that each candidate has more to say than what I hear them being asked. So that's why I'm enjoying this fact that I'm having Steve on today to share his position with everybody. So I would love it if you would like and share. You know, they all say that. So when I listened to Steve at the Longmont Area Democrats City Council Forum, and that was held September 3rd, 2025. You're welcome to go listen to it. And my thought is, Steve, you've got a whole lot more to say than I heard you say on there. So, excuse me, when we connected, whoa, I lost my voice. You talked about a survey that was done back in 2022. And at the top of the concerns for the citizens of Longmont, there was number 1, traffic, 2, crime, 3, homelessness, and housing was number 8. So the people that you hang around with and the people you know, whom I know is a lot because you're involved with the City of Longmont Chamber of Commerce, and they're wondering why City Council has only done build, build, build since the 2022 survey that was done. And all we've seen around here are no condos to own, hardly any new homes of any size. The traffic has gotten worse. And now they're talking about doing away with the 4-story height limit. So possibly allowing 7 stories, 10, 14. And this is a huge concern about you. So why don't we start there? And you can share with your depth of why you want to be at large on City Council here in Longmont.
Okay. Thank you, Jenny. And you just took away all my favorite talking points, but I will elaborate.
Don't worry, I'll have questions.
So I've been going to City Council meetings for the last half a dozen years. The main reason I started going to them was they had all 7 people on the City Council had the exact same ideas or ideals. And almost everything that came up, all the votes were 7-0, 7-0. And I realized that they weren't doing what the people of Longmont wanted, they were doing what they wanted. So I started going to the 3 minutes where the public is invited to be heard, so I can speak and let them hear the other side of situations that were coming up. And as I've gone there more and more, I realized they're even more than I thought, they're not listening to the people. there's the Kanimoto open space land, and they're trying to find an excuse to undo the agreement. It was a lifetime donation for open space. They're trying to find a way to undo that so they can build on there. They're taking other open space and swapping it so they can build reclamation projects. They're building high density, low income apartment buildings everywhere and making traffic worse, like what you talked about. With the smart meters, hundreds of people came in complaining how bad they were going to be. They ignored the people, did what they wanted anyway, and now hundreds of people are going into the city council to complain about the side effects. So I've been getting really frustrated. And then about 6, 8 weeks ago, they started to talk about doing away with the 4-story height limits. And like you said, building 7, 10, or 14-story buildings, even on Main Street. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And if you go back to the Democrat panel that you were referencing, everybody that I'm running against was saying that they've lived in Longmont a year or 2 years or 5 years, or they were born here, and they just love Longmont. They want to raise their kids here. And yet all they're doing is trying to change it and ruin it and destroy it from what it was 15, 20 years ago. Longmont started out as a farming community. There were houses. Originally, there were ranches. But people enjoy the mountains. They enjoy the open space. And they enjoyed their neighbors. Now it's getting so dense. I think what they're trying to do is change Longmont into what's called a 15-minute city, where you create so much density, and then you outlaw the cars in Longmont. Maybe they park over at the old sugar mill and have to drive into town and then walk to their house or apartment. And if they want to go to the supermarket or the dentist or a hair cutting place, whatever, they have to walk where they want to go or ride a bike. That's not Longmont. That may be some big cities back east, but it's not Longmont. And if people wanted to live in this crowded area, they'd go live in Denver. How's that for an opening salvo?
Well, I love it. And when you said, you made me think of Prospect. So Prospect is an area that was sort of like a test for that, I believe. I am not sure how developed they are as far as the shopping capabilities. I know there's not a grocery store there because it's not a big enough area. And that's what I was writing down, is that the 15-minute area is a little bit difficult. It's not easy to walk with all your groceries to and from King Soopers. And for
Especially,
me, King Soopers is 20 minutes away walking.
and I was going to say, especially if you're a senior citizen,
Yeah,
or especially if it's wintertime and there's snow and ice on the roads,
yeah,
or if you're a single mother with 2 little kids, you have to take those kids with you and walk to the market.
right, right. And the other comment that you made about the EMFs, and which is the smart meters, I have heard that. Why don't you give more information to our viewers about your understanding of the smart meters?
In a nutshell, and I might be making this too simple, but we have all heard for 50 years now, when you're in your kitchen and you turn on your microwave, you don't stand right in front of it, you move away. And that's because of the radiation that can come out of it. So with the smart meters, they're using the same radiation to push electricity through your house. And I'm not an expert. I'm not an electrical engineer or anything like that. I'm going off of what I heard experts say in the meetings at the city council. So they are dangerous. There have been situations across the country where it started a house fire or multiple house fires. And
Why would that be?
again, because of the EMFs, electromagnetic frequency, and the electricity, it can kind of short out and start a fire, to the best of my understanding. But these are things what the city council should have done is just maybe get 2 square blocks and do that with the the smart meters and see for 6 months or a year what the effect is before they go in and throw it at the whole city.
Now, is that cost effective doing it that way for the citizens? You know, this is what people are concerned about is because of inflation, the 40% rise in property taxes that happened all of a sudden. Everyone is watching their pennies. So that's something that they're looking to city council, the group, to help them out. What is cost effective for Longmont?
This might be a little off the wall, but when Boeing creates a new airplane, they fly the airplanes a few hundred times empty just to make sure that everything is safe. They don't go right out and throw 300 people into a plane and fly it and see if there's a problem. So it might have been cheaper to do the smart meters for everybody, but now with all the problems they're having, it's going to cost a lot more to try to fix it, or they refuse to fix it and just tell people to suffer with it, which is what's happening so far. So I realize there's always
what kind of problems have you heard of in Longmont?
There's some people that literally have not lived in their house for 8 months because their headaches are so severe they can't even live in their own home.
And they've told who is the best person to tell this to?
They've come up to city council. Dozens of people have come up to city council and spoken about being so sick that they're throwing up all the time. They have splitting headaches. They're afraid of their house burning down, all kinds of different things. So my main point is it should have had a slower rollout. It should have been inspected more closely rather than just thrown on the whole community. There are areas in the country, and don't ask me which ones because I don't remember. It's from people that came in the city council with all these comments. There are areas in America that have actually backed off from the smart meters and gone back to the analog.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's not as perfect and safe as it should be. And if I may change horses a little bit, you brought up the 40% increase in property taxes a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So in 2019, since from 2019 to 2024, the population in Longmont went up 2.5%, but the budget went up 22.5%. So the city is taking in more and more money. Also, 24% of the cost of every new home goes to the city in fees. And then the city takes that money and they build their low-income housing. So my point is, if they didn't charge the builders 24%, a $600,000 home would only be $460,000. That would be about $1,000 a month less in your mortgage. It would also be less on your property taxes. Then more people could afford to live in their own home and not have to move into city-owned low-income housing.
It almost sounds like a catch-22.
The city is causing a lot of their own problems, is my feeling.
Got it. Okay. So are they regulated by Colorado government in a way?
That's a little bit of a fine line. In Longmont, the city can do a lot of whatever they want to do when it comes to local charges.
Okay.
There are some state laws that they will have to follow. But also, Longmont, as the mayor has told me repeatedly, is a home rule city. As a home rule city, we have a little more room to make our own laws.
Home what?
A home rule city.
Okay, home rule city. Okay.
So we get to make more of our own rules than some other cities might.
Okay.
Now, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell you where that comes into play. Excuse me, and where we have to follow everything the state does. But it is something to look at and give us more flexibility. But the charges that we charge a builder are city charges.
Okay.
So there are things that a state has incorporated. For instance, the state has said, Polis has said, we are a sanctuary state. that pretty much means the whole state. I've had the mayor tell me we don't have to follow sanctuary city laws because we're home rule city. But I had a lawyer tell me, no, actually we do because the home rule city aspect does not apply in that case. So again, I'm not a lawyer, but
Okay.
those are things that I would like to look at more deeply and see if we can't find different solutions.
Okay. That's fascinating and good to know. I'm sure that's something that a lot of people don't know. Well, we're down to about 5 minutes, so I want to be most effective of our use of our time. So, what would be something else that you would do where you could have an effect to help Longmont? You know, this is a great town, people absolutely love it. Um, what steps would you take once you got elected and in?
So the biggest thing to understand when you listen to other people running for office, they tell you that I will do this, I will do that, I will change this, I will change that.
Yeah.
It's it's not that simple. Okay. For one thing, I'm only one vote, and we need at least four to be able to change what's going on. But at least I can bring up different thoughts and different opinions and different ideas of how to resolve a situation. For instance, and this is the big one, but homelessness. There's one guy on city council that wants to give every homeless person a free small home.
Oh,
That won't that won't work. For one thing, it'd be between 500 million and $1 billion to do that. But if everybody moves into their own home on a Monday, by Thursday, we're going to have 500 more homeless people because everyone from Denver to Detroit and San Diego will hear about the free homes being given away and move
no,
here.
sign me up.
Yeah. Or people that are on the fringe will quit working so that they can get into a free home. So that's
Yeah.
not a realistic solution. We also have cases where homeless people, especially in North Longmont, are camping out right in front of businesses and keeping customers away. So I'd like to see an ordinance where homeless people have to be at least 100 feet away from a business and 500 feet away from a park or school. That's a stopgap situation. It doesn't solve the problem. There are a lot of mentally ill people with PTSD that need more medical help, and we need to do that. Then the next thing is if the businesses are being able to do more business because the homeless people aren't obstructing their business, they can hire more people. And if you hire more people, you can afford to pay more if your business is doing better. And if more people are working in Longmont, you can reduce the traffic because they won't be driving down the Boulder and Erie every day. So no one thing will fix everything, but a lot of these problems are intertwined.
Right.
And if you can get a 20% reduction in homelessness and drugs that are on the streets, if you can get businesses to hire 10% more people, that will help reduce the traffic. They can pay a little bit more if more business is coming in. Right now, the city is wanting to do, several people are trying to encourage the city to force a minimum wage increase.
Mhm.
They want to go up to $26 an hour. Right now it's 16. And they're trying to start the city on this path with $22. But in Niwot, we've already had 5 businesses go out of business because they can't afford to pay the higher minimum wage that Boulder's making them pay. So there's always repercussions. And a lot of the people that are running against me don't look at the repercussions. They just look at how beautiful it would be to give everybody more money.
Right.
I, I deal in truth and I deal in reality, and I look at both sides of a situation. And there is not just any one thing you can do to solve these problems.
Well, I also know, I want to throw in, Steve, that I've known you for years. I met you back in Boulder when you owned your own business there. So I know you know about the economics. And that's one thing I would like to stress that people who are on city council need to understand economics, how money really works. And I'll give you one last minute to wrap this up. And we'll have to do this again because I know you've got a lot more to say than what you've said today.
So if people do not go to look at let me speak at the Longmont panel, I will tell you the last thing that I said. And this is very critical in my opinion. Whether it's the federal government, the state, or local Longmont City Council, governments have no money. The only money they have is the money they take from the working people in the city, state, or country. Taxes, income taxes, property taxes, all the fees they can throw at you, all the surcharges they can throw at you. So if government is building a 300 unit apartment building, that's our tax dollars that are paying for it. If the government owns that building, they're not going to pay themselves property taxes. If you do, it's like taking money out of one pocket and putting it in your other pocket. It doesn't make you have any more money. So we end up paying the property taxes on the buildings that the government is building. Everything comes out of the working people's pocket. And if you think I'd like to help this situation, I'd like to help that situation, realize you are paying for it. If you'd like to see the homeless be housed, then go to the city and say, I'd like to have a homeless person live in my house. I know most people will do that, but that's my point. You are paying for it one way or another.
Yeah.
So you have to look at realistic situations, but realize it's all coming from taxes from the working people.
That is such a hard concept to understand also, because we don't see it come out of our paycheck or our checking account, but it's just gone. And you would like to think that government is working for us. And that's what I'd like to see more of. So thank you, Steve, so much for coming on. And we will let you know when we do this again soon.
My pleasure, and I look forward to doing it anytime. Thank you.
Terrific. Thanks, Steve. Take
Great
care.
day.
Bye.